What is good, rookies? Welcome back to the Locker Room. I am your host and your favorite Kansas City girl, Kennedy Bright. And as always, what's in the locker room stays in the locker room. Get your playbooks ready, guys. What is good, rookies? Welcome back to season 4 of the podcast. We're here with a new season. And honestly, I was like, girl, you should probably add this to season 3. But I'm like, you know what? No. It's a new year. It's a new season. Your girl's a new age. Like, I'm ready to step into it with new energy and a different vibe. And let's get into it. First of all, do y'all see my new Lululemon jacket? Tell me what y'all think. It's in if you're watching obviously on podcast on YouTube or on Spotify, but it's the new Lululemon jacket and it's bone color. So it's kind of like that neutral color. It's not white. It looked kind of white, but it's not white, but it's not even tan. Like it's I don't know. First of all, it's super white. And being a black girl in my dark makeup, I'm like, it's giving accident waiting to happen. But also too, I'm looking at it and I'm like, I don't know. Okay, anyways, that's not what we're here to talk about. Let's get into the podcast. I apologize. My whole point of me saying it's a new season, a new vibe is I want to change up the format a little bit of how we do the podcast here. So I really want this podcast to be more of like a girl FaceTime talk, like a weekly check-in. We're girls chatting. We're yapping, as y'all like to call it nowadays. Why do we call it yapping? Where did I get it from? That's not what we're here to talk about. But that's what I want the vibe to be, us having conversations. So the format used to be like I would have a topic for each week and we just go straight into the topic. I do my little intro for 5 seconds. We go straight into the topic. But now I want to switch it up a little bit, okay? I want it to be, like I said, a weekly check-in with y'all, update y'all on what's been going on in my life, things I've been trying, implementing in my life. You know what I mean? More of a conversation. And it's also another way to hold myself and each other accountable. And we can also talk about like what's going on social media, what's going on in the world. Help really kind of build more of like our community back up and having this space to be able to be like, oh my gosh, she saw Kennedy, you saw that too. Like, what did you think about it? And like it's just us talking, having conversations. Y'all can always, of course, like DM me and everything like that, and we can get into it and discuss things back and forth, like on the podcast IG. If you guys clearly do not know, which you probably do, I am a sports content creator. Since sports is kind of my vibe, my theme, I want to also give y'all each week a little bit of like tidbit information about what's going on in the sports world. Yes, I know all girls don't like sports, and that is totally fine, which is why I am going to start creating mini slash like bonus episodes each week that kind of give y'all idea of about the sports world updates, things that are happening. So that way you just have an idea in case you're not able to sit down and listen to my other episodes that are specifically about sports. Does that make sense? I hope y'all like that idea. But today's episode will be a little preview to let you guys kind of get a vibe of how we're going to be doing it. So number one, I don't want to call this segment, this is our little worldly update, sports update, whatever you want to call it. Number one, your girl finally watched Love is Blind for the first time. And how do y'all watch that show? I did a TikTok on it, so I ain't gonna get into it too much in case you're from TikTok. But girl, how do y'all watch Love is Blind? Y'all, it literally stressed the heck out of me. I can't. Like, all of a sudden, we getting married in 2 weeks. Y'all saying I love each other like 2 days into the pods? Be for real. I can't do it. Delusion, that show is delusional. That is delusion. That's why these girls are out here operating the way y'all are. Y'all watching Love is Blind, expecting a man to tell you he loves you after his second date. Girl, what? I can't. And y'all need to leave Chelsea alone. Leave her alone. Like, that man, we're not going to get into it because I can go all day. So that's number one. I finally watched Love is Blind for the first time, and I don't think I ever could watch it again. Okay. Number two, March Madness is happening right now. We're in the process of the teams going through the Sweet 16 to try to make it to the Elite Eight and then make it to the Final Four. We'll get into that. Follow me on TikTok to give you more about that. MLB is back, baby, and the UFL is here. So the UFL is the United Football League. It's a spring football league. It's a professional league. It used to be, so if you ever heard of the USFL and then the XFL, they have combined. They merged and now have one league. But just one thing you need to know, like all the teams are not there right now. It's just only like a few of them. So I'll do a video on that and let y'all know about what's going on with that. Next, have you heard about what's going on with Cam Sutton? So Cam Sutton, he is a player for the Detroit Lions, or I guess they cut him now, but he played for the Detroit Lions. He had a domestic violence charge and they were waiting, like a warrant was like out for his arrest. The last time they saw him, he was in the training facility doing like some strength training or something at the Detroit Lions facility. After that, after they talked to him, let him know like, hey, this is out. They're looking for you, blah, blah, blah. He left and the man's been like disappeared as of my knowledge, as of today, from my knowledge, still to this day, like no one can find him. A lot of people, it's a conspiracy theories. A lot of people thinking that he's dead. A lot of people are like, he's not alive. Like, how has no one seen him? He just fell off the face of the earth. What I have to say is they said someone, I don't know if this part's true, but I saw somewhere someone said like, yeah, all his socials have been deactivated and stuff. So I'm like, okay, that's not giving that the man's like dead though, if he took the time to deactivate his accounts. But besides that part, I have been hearing like seriously a lot of people have been very concerned with his whereabouts, if he's alive and things like that. So prayers up to him for regardless of whatever's happening. I know y'all seen the Drea and Joy situation. I did talk about that. I'm a kind of person, I'm sorry, I don't care about other people's lives. I've never been a person to be obsessed with people's lives and things like that. So I'm gonna let y'all have it. Age gaps to me, okay, the 10-year age gap between Joy and Trayvon is not weird to me at all. But y'all tripping off of Drea, and like, I understand guys mature like slower than girls, but all y'all out here with these old ass sugar daddies that could be your dad or your grandpa, y'all don't find it weird that he's attracted to you and you're like basically a little girl to him? We're not gonna get into that topic because y'all don't want to hear it. So don't ask me to speak on no more of that Dre and stuff because I will really get into it. Next is NFL free agency time. And basically the big deal has been like it's always this way, but people have been talking about it yet again this year. Like, oh, you want the team is not loyal to the player, it's just business. But when the player decides he wants his money, he's gonna go where he can get it. Oh, he ain't loyal to the team, he ain't doing what's best for the team. Boy, bye. But Josh Jobs is going to the Niners. Good luck to Brock Purdy because he coming for your job. You finna lose your job. That's number one. Number two, Russell Wilson, his contract, him and Justin Fields, they're going to the Steelers. We'll see how that's going to go in the AFC, baby. The AFC is just so loaded. Next, Aaron Donald retired. So he was the best defensive tackle right now in the NFL. So he left, but Chris Jones just became number one now. And Chris Jones also got paid this year. And Hollywood Brown's going to the Chiefs. So that's a little bit of free agency, little updates, little free agency news. Today's topic. So I've recently had some progress in my personal life, yay me, on kind of like growing in self-love, which sounds so cringe to say because people make it sound so corny. I promise they do. But growing and like loving myself and like setting my standards like really high and like kind of getting confirmation that the kind of man I want is out there and things like that. And then I had a relapse. So we're going to get into all of it. Let's go, girl. Let's go. Buckle up. Buckle up. Oh, hold on. Let me take a sip of my drink. I love this water bottle. Of course, it's Stanley. I'm sorry. But what I will say about it is, hold on. I have to use this one when my dog's around, y'all, because like he will literally, my regular one, like with the straw, girl, he gonna knock it over. Oh, so good. We love a hydrated girl. Anyways, y'all, I don't know if I'm keeping this Lululemon jacket. I probably need to take it off though, so I can put on my black one. So I don't. Okay, we're gonna say it's fine. I don't know if anyone has ever experienced this where it's like people paint a reality of what your life is going to become. Like, this is as good as it's going to get. This is how, the bar is set here, the ceiling is set here. Like, people kind of do that to you. And over time, you don't even notice it, but you kind of like, you buy into it a little bit, So you think whatever it is that you see in front of you and what people are telling you, like that's as far as you're going to get in life. So finally, you come across someone in your life who is able to kind of explain to you and call out the bull, like kind of use a leaf blower and brush off those leaves and let you see the actual grass is green where you're standing. I just came up with that. I don't know if that makes sense. But anyways, that's what's been happening to me these past couple of months with a relationship that I've been having with a friend and kind of helping me kind of see things differently. So let's get into that relationship. My mindset has been definitely shifting and changing a lot lately, which we love for myself. So me and this guy, like we've been friends for a couple of years now, but our relationship, like on a friendship level, has escalated so heavy since probably like last fall. And just things that he has said to me and like how he's encouraged me and pushed me has been really good. Originally, it was just kind of like nice to have someone to listen to and like vent to, but then it got to a point where he just started like really pouring into me. He kind of just was like explaining to me like, bro, why do you think like just because you have like anxiety and depression and PTSD, like that doesn't make you unlovable, that doesn't make you difficult, that doesn't make you, what did he say? Like it doesn't make you more of like an issue than someone else is. And I'm like, wow, really? And so we started having these conversations. One of the things that like he kind of was helping me realize is like the way I am, I don't have to stay this way. Like the way my mental health fluctuates and my anxiety, my depression, it doesn't have to stay that way. The way guys have been treating me and the kind of guys that I deal with, like those aren't the only guys out there. This is not the only life that I have to have. Like I can actually work to change my life, which we all know. People tell you that. You already know that. But let me tell you something about me. I don't know. Maybe you can relate. Unless I know it's 100% going to work, like I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it at all. Unless I know this is going to result, the end result is success. I'm going to lose the weight. My skin's going to be clear. My skin's going to be sculpted. Unless I know that I'm going to see change, like I don't go for it. But I'm having to change that mindset and actually attempt at doing things differently. I'm trying to have hope for myself. And regardless of if I can see the future or see the end of it, like I have to change it. So I'm kind of having to use that. Dang, that just popped in my head. What is it? Oh, I can't even quote it right. But in the Bible, it's like live by faith and not by sight, basically. I can't, y'all know what I'm talking about though. That is basically what the vibe is that I'm having to do for myself. He recommended like a book I've been reading and it's been helpful. It's the Four Agreements. Y'all know that book. But yeah, I've been reading the book, I've been putting in the work, and things have actually kind of been changing, even though some of my like actual circumstances in life have not been positive. My conversations with him and my outlook on how things are going in my life have been different, even though it has been like some crazy stuff has happened to me, y'all. So the first thing I want to say is like having a healthy role model in your life is so important. And I don't want to get into it too much because I do have a whole separate episode planned out. So I don't want to tell y'all now and then talk about it later. I feel like a lot of times, you're always told not having a good, male role model, not having a good father in your life and things like that, like you're pretty much screwed. You're gonna have daddy issues. Da, da, da. You still probably will. I'm not saying those people are wrong. But my thing is, you can't. What is it saying? You can't cry over spoiled milk. Wait, why is it called cry over spoiled milk? Can you tell me? Okay, anyways, but my simple point is, you can't change someone being there, not being there, your dad being there, not being there, but you can still learn how to be treated and what a man is supposed to be like from male platonic relationships that you have in your life. I'm not saying that they're like a father figure, but they can still show you and give you hope on like what a man is like. And let me explain that a little bit more in case you're like, what do you mean? So since I become friends with him, I tell y'all the bar has been set so high. And first, let me make sure I preference this. I feel like a lot of times when you think of like the really nice guy who like opens the door, who buys his girl flowers, who takes her to dinner, I'm like dinner reservations are made for Friday at 8. You all, let's be for real, y'all be, you be thinking like, oh, he's corny, he's lame, he's this, right? Like, be for real. Me and my friend, we were doing that sometimes. We on TikTok and we look at him and we're like, oh my god, he treats her so well, but like, I could not take him seriously or date him. Take him seriously or date him. Guess what? This man is actually an athlete. Oh, I say that to say, the man that you want to be with, he can give you everything you need and he's not corny. Like, he's not the corny guy who, I'm not trying to throw shade, but like, oh, he just works in IT and he plays video games. And I know you think that that's it. Like, people literally act like he's either you date athletes and athletes dog you out, or you're gonna date a good man. And a good man is someone who works a 9 to 5 and wears khakis and, I don't know, what are you talking about? Drives a Subaru. I'm black, so a strong black man can still treat you the way you want to be treated. You know what I'm saying? And he's not corny in y'all's eyes. Listen. Okay, that's all. Listen. That's all I'm saying. So that's why I want to just preference what I'm saying, because I don't want y'all being like, girl, your friend probably talks to you like that. He's probably ugly. He's probably a lame, a loser. None of those. So I just want that to give y'all some hope. And that's what I realized. Like, that was my first thing I noticed. I was like, oh my God, like, men like you exist. And we'll be talking about like his friends. His friends are the same way. And I'm like, dang, like, these men are real out here. I've definitely needed that. It's definitely helped me, like I said, just from like the outside. Like, oh wow, these guys exist. That's cool. But not just that, the way he, like I said, the way he treats me and how he handles me is the most important thing that I've noticed, because now I'm like, okay, cool. There's going to be a man out here who can handle my emotions, handle my moods, handle my trauma, handle everything about me in a gentle but firm way. It helps me keep my standards high. And I got to a point, like, it was so good that it literally made to where like I built up like this like barrier to where like these men that didn't at all like just do the things that he did for me. I'm like, you want access to me. You want to like get my body. Like, you want to be intimate with me and not be intimate. You want all these things. And that's why it was number one that's really helped in this process. And there are a few things that did help me build up kind of like this barrier or this wall to help kind of keep pushing my life in the right direction. One was friendships. Like I mentioned, I only really talked to people. Stopped talking to a lot of people, and I only talked to people who were pouring into my life in a positive way. Like, we're moving in the right direction. We're having like meaningful conversations and things like that. And there were people that I had to stop talking to because every time I talk to you, you remind me of my old life. You remind me of the things that I struggle with. You remind me of the things I don't want to do. Talking to you makes me tempted to go text that dude I shouldn't. Didn't mean what he meant, to forgive that guy that I shouldn't. Like, I didn't need that. I needed someone that's also trying the same things. Like, none of us are perfect. We all slip up. We all do things. But if you are actively, constantly doing something, we'll have another topic on that podcast on that. But for me, it just wasn't going to work anymore. Like, I couldn't be tempted. It's kind of like someone who I view kind of sadly like my relationship with like some guys in my past, pretty much only one, but men in my past in general, it's like an addiction, a true addiction. If you go sit by someone who used to do crack or cocaine and you're doing those drugs by them, Like that's gonna tempt them, you know what I mean, to relapse. That's how I view my relationships with men who I have no business being involved with, but who still have a little bit of a hold on me. I can't be around you where you're talking constantly about like, girl, he this is that, and he dogging you out too. And you keep going back, or you just gonna keep accepting the bullshit. Girl, I talked to him, I answered his phone call for what? Because guess what? As the more we talk about it, I'm like, okay, maybe I should answer his phone call. Maybe I should do that with the dude that I shouldn't be with. Like I said, I view it like a drug relationship for me. So I had to cut all those kinds of people out of my life. The next thing I noticed that helped block out a lot of things was God, obviously, but in the way I did it. So right on, like, it was like the 31st of like December, I started this 40 days and 40 nights prayer journaling thing. I always prayer journal. That's how I talk to God. But I was required to do it for 40 days. Like every night I had to do it. And sometimes it would be long, sometimes it would be short, just depending. But it's kind of weird because I honestly feel like the more I talk to God and just put like journal little stuff down, y'all, it could be like barely a paragraph. Somehow it would like recharge. And the way I like to view it is like the more I talk to God, the more of a barrier, even subconsciously somehow, the more I talked to him, the harder it was for the devil like to speak into my mind. And the reason I say that is I was watching a Sarah Jake sermon, and she was talking about how like the serpent, aka the devil, how he works. She's like, if you ever look at, read the passage with the Garden of Eden, like he never told Eve to eat the fruit. All he had to do was plant the thought into her mind. If he can plant the thought into your mind, that's you do all the work for him. He just has to give you the thought. And it how I like to view it is the more I talk to God, the harder it was for him to penetrate my walls. And so sorry, the harder it was for him to penetrate my walls and my thoughts, because it was like the more I talked to God, the more of like a shield was built up around me. So he couldn't come put thoughts into my mind. He couldn't do that. And I felt like that was something that I noticed. Like I said, it didn't matter if I journaled to him for an hour, 5 minutes, 2 minutes, a little paragraph. It's like just talking to him for a second would be like just keep building it up and making it stronger. This is kind of number three. My music has always helped, but in this sense, I also created this R&B. I told you about my R&B worship playlist, and it is so good, especially when I'm doing like self-care nights and things like that. I'm cleaning up. It's a cute, fun, kind of girly vibes. So those things have also helped, and I want to get into that in a second, okay? About how I noticed that they did when I noticed that they did help. I noticed actually trying to read books or things that they weren't just self-help. Like, how do I explain it? They would speak about things of like, this is how you think if you feel this way, and it would make me not feel so isolated and make me feel like I wasn't crazy. Like, wow, so there's a reason I feel like this, there's a reason I have these thoughts. So it helped me feel a little bit better about my mental health and about like my growth process. So those things helped. Now let's get into the buildup of like the relapse I told y'all that I had. So there's a situation that's going on in my life right now that is beyond triggering and a reminder of like a little kid dream that I've always had. And for me, I'm not gonna cry about it because I've gotten to a point where I can discuss it and not cry about it, but I just cried about it on Sunday and a couple of days ago. Anyways, um, if you've ever had something that you've always wanted since you were like a little kid, like a little girl or a little boy or whatever, and you're not able to have it, and then you watch someone else close to you, like in your life, have it, and not just have it, but it's like right in front of you, they have it and they get it. That is honestly the worst feeling. And so I've been dealing with that a lot. So that's already been kind of triggering me and having a lot in a lot of vulnerable ways. But like I said, those friendships and talking to God and all of those things have really been helping. Like, okay, keep me moving, keep me afloat, and not let it penetrate, like not let it mess me up too much. And then it got into the process of realizing a lot of regrets and realizing I missed moments, which but I saw a friend who I flew with when I worked in Chicago, and I kind of just realized like I don't like the feeling of feeling like I'm missing out, or I'm not connected, or like I have relationships that are lost. Now let's get into the actual week of the downfall. Okay. I did have a relapse, but we got to go back first. So let me first explain to you about the guy and the phone call, like in the whole situation. So number one, I met this guy like years ago, like 3 years ago. I met him 3 years ago. No. Was it 3 or more than 3 years ago? No, I haven't talked to him in 3 years. I met him more years than that. Like, was I in college? Yeah. So it was forever ago. Okay. So I haven't talked to him at this point in almost 3 years, and he hits me up randomly. I'm unblocked, by the way. So you already know this is starting bad. Like, unblocked, dude, for real. So he unblocks me, and two texts and a DM, and it's like, where you at with the eyes and stuff. And I'm like, yo, what? There's no way that you're contacting me right now. Talking about where you at. Like, what? He first contacted me or whatever. He was like, just as usual, I answered the FaceTime. And long story short, he's here in Dallas right now for football. So I'm like, okay, whatever. The same, but honestly, like, I just was not going for the BS. Like I told you, like, I have been building up this wall and building up this, like, constantly building up this standard of like how I want a man to be and treat me and operate since literally July. So I'm like, you coming up in here in February, you coming up in here like it ain't nothing for you. So I've been dodging him for almost like a month. Like he got to the point where he just was this week, the week that I did relapse, he's thirsty. He's calling me multiple times a night, texting me multiple times a day, blowing my shit up, like dead ass, like blowing my shit up. Okay. I realize I'm weak. I'm a little like vulnerable in a lot of areas. Two things. One, me and my guy friend, we do not talk this week. Second thing that happens is Janaea, she gets a new job, so she's like at work training like all the time, and so we're not talking, we talk. So this whole week there were times that he would call and I would kind of get a little tempted to, link up or whatever, but I would go turn on my god like R&B playlist, listen to that, take my shower, do my skincare, and by the time I was doing that, like pouring into myself, I'd be like, all right, cool, like I'm good, like the urge went away. It was like turning on the music, this which is why I say that R&B playlist really helped, because I would listen to it and listen to what they're saying about God and like how God like loves us and all that kind of stuff. I would realize like, all right, cool, like I don't need this, like this is BS, right? It kept happening, right? And this finally I realized I did, like I said, I had the relapse, and from that experience really set like a huge trigger in me in the aspect of like I was so mad at myself, I was so disappointed in myself, I hated that I gave in and linked up with him, like all of this. And what I realized was, what was different? And the biggest thing I want to take away from this for myself was I'm not a person who gives myself grace. And if you're someone who also doesn't know how to give yourself grace and you really take like losses and things like that, like a huge hit, this maybe try this idea, kind of like philosophy, and see if this helps you a little bit. They always say like healing isn't linear, right? And I'm like, no, it needs to be linear. Remember, I just told y'all, like everything to happen, boom, 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 boom. Like it has to work. So for you to tell me healing isn't linear and I'm gonna have like little relapses and I'm gonna fall sometimes, what are you talking about? No, if I'm putting in the work, I need to work 100%. So one, I have to remind myself that. So remember that, girl. Like healing isn't linear. You're gonna have mistakes and relapses in your process of like developing yourself, healing, self love, whatever you're looking for, right? Okay, that's number one. Number two, I now say, okay, the way I can give myself grace is if I take notes, inventory, and game film. If I look back at it and say, okay, Kennedy, why did you do this? What was the cause? How did we get here? Instead of it being a lot of times in life, I was like, I don't know. I just went to go see him. I don't know. I just did it. Like that's how I always was. But this time I was like, no, let's really take note. What was different for you? Number one, I was not talking to my friends that week. They were busy. They had things going on in their lives. Like respectfully, like I'm not mad. That's good. Um, Two, I was not talking to God. I couldn't think of the last time I journaled and prayed and talked to God. Third, like I said, I stopped listening to the music that was really fueling it. I also was watching, oh, I forgot, that's when I started watching Love is Blind. And so I was really tempted and feeling bad about myself watching the show, like about love and seeing how these girls is getting played by these men and like, this is what dating's like, and really triggering. So when you add all those things in, and then so when you add all those things together, I took note of that. Like these were all the causes for you. So now we know what we need to do. Now we know that we need to continue to talk to God, because obviously when you stop doing those things, guess what? The serpent was able to put the little thoughts in your head. All you had to do was put a thought and you did the rest, Kennedy. I definitely would say that that helped a little bit. I also beat myself up a lot about making mistakes. Another sermon I was watching and just like realizing like the story of David really quickly. Basically how the reason God loved David so much is because they're like, David is the man after God's own heart. And I'm like, y'all be saying that, but like the man was like cheating on his wife. The man had his kids want to kill him. The man was coveting another man's woman, watching her Bathsheba bathe. He then got her pregnant, then had her husband killed. Like God, I'm not saying that God shouldn't love him, but I'm saying like this is a role model like that God wants for me. And I had to realize, and they were saying that basically because David always repented, David always was actively trying his best to connect with God and trying his best to be a better person. But of course, because we're freaking human, he's gonna fall. That's gonna happen. He is going to fall. But he always went back to God. He always prayed about it. He always went for help. And I feel like that's how I need to model my life, because right now, like, going cold turkey on men who ain't nothing, doing it cold turkey is difficult, and I'm gonna have relapses. But I need to be like David and be a man after God's own heart. And long as I come back to God, I repent. And like, it's hard. I'm like, I was like crying. I was devastated. And I'm like talking to my friends, like, bro, one little lapse in judgment, I'm talking to this dumb fool again. I had to realize, like, one, I have to treat myself like I do my friends. Would I let my friend beat herself up like this? Would I talk to my friend as badly as I'm talking? That's number one. No, I wouldn't. But also, it's hard to accept the fact that, like, I know God's forgiven you. You have to forgive yourself. I'm like, he's stupid for forgiving me. Because what you forgiving me for? Like, I knew better. I'm driving because he went and got us some food. Okay, whatever. And I knew though, and I knew it, and I did it anyways. That was kind of the problem. It was like, I definitely have a self-sabotage issue. I did that on purpose, but I hated how it made me feel afterwards. So it's like I did it on purpose because I kind of wanted to feel like being treated shitty, if that makes sense. Maybe I know, no, I don't need to tell my friends. Another thing I noticed for myself, I had to give myself grace because this was the first time, like I said, since July, I guess August, but since August that I ever was tempted and I failed. You know what I mean? Like, I never had failed before. I never had experienced this before. And so I'm like, Kennedy, why are you beating yourself up so much right now, girl? Like, it's not, this was your first time being tested. Seriously, all these months I had never been tested, never been tempted to entertain a dumb dude. Like, I have not had a guy who was not of quality in my phone. And of quality, I mean like someone who treats me right in my phone in months this entire time. Like, I've been so ducked off. I haven't reached out to anyone, like nothing. And so, of course, I accidentally fumbled when an old fling comes back into your city and hits you up like, hey, what's up? It's okay. But I'm not going to let it happen again. Do you see what I mean? So, like, this was your first time you were tested and you failed. It's okay. But I didn't know it was coming. Like, the test came out of nowhere. The test pop quiz, it was a true pop quiz. Like, Kiss Me came out of nowhere and I was not expecting this. So, I'm going to give myself grace for not knowing that I was going to have a pop quiz. But I'm going to be prepared next time. Pop quizzes happen all the time. I'm going to be ready. But that was another thing that I had to remind myself to not let myself beat myself up. And it's okay. I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to fumble. I'm going to, relapse. And that's fine, long as I take note of inventory and document how I got there and try my best to not let it happen again. All of this that I've just discovered in my life, I am ready to talk about with y'all. I'm relaunching free agent season, but like full throttle this time. I've already started posting the TikTok videos. Y'all should be proud. I'm really trying to take my life in a different direction and really see what all can I really get in this life if I really put in the work, put in the effort, and really try. And building routines and structure for myself is something that is also really important that I'm working on. But I'm ready for the season of the podcast. I'm ready for the season of my life. I'm ready for this growth, truly like reaching my full potential. And I need y'all to hold me accountable. I want you to hold me accountable. I want to be here with y'all. Make sure you follow the podcast Instagram. That's kind of going to be my new second kind of TikTok, kind of share all my content and things like that with y'all. Remember, linked in the podcast Instagram bio is always where you can ask questions, because I want to get into like answering more questions for y'all and topics. And I cannot wait. I love you guys so much. Thank you for being so patient and kind with me. I will talk to you in the next one. See you in the next one, guys. Bye. Bye.